What is up, YouTube? So this is it. This is the build. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted a Porsche 911. Something about the body lines of these old classic Porsches, I just couldn't get enough of. You know, and where I live, you don't see a whole lot of them. So when I did see one, it was just like, my mind was blown. These cars are just beautiful, and the history that these cars have is just something that I've always been very, very intrigued by. Flash forward to about a year ago, I found this car local to me. A guy that I didn't even know at the time posted it for sale on Facebook, and I did not have the money for it. But I was just like, man, I've always wanted to get my hands on one of these cars. I've always wanted to see one. Can I please just come look at it? And he was like, yeah, absolutely, you know, sure, come on by. Drive, you know, 45 minutes, get there, and it's just, it's in shambles. No engine, well, I'm sorry, I take that back. It had a 912 engine with it and a 901 transmission, which if you know anything about Porsche, both of those equal 0 horsepower. And you know, whatever. I wasn't there to buy the car, so I didn't really care. But it had that engine, that transmission, and it also had a spare parts car. I get to looking at this car and I'm like, man, you know, I honestly can't afford it, but I've just always wanted to get my hands on one, see one, you know, see what they're all about in person. To make a long story short, the dude shot me a number that I could not leave without the car, to be honest with you. So he, you know, we figured it all out, we discussed it, and here I am today with this car. Now, this car has good, it's got bad, and it's got ugly. The good thing is this car has absolutely 0 rust. It's got the side skirts on it that you saw in the B-roll. You know, the other day I pulled the old oil lines out and they were ran through that channel where the side skirts are, and 0 rust up inside those side skirts, which absolutely blew me away because I figured that it would have just been a horrendous amount of rust. No rust at all. The bad came with a 4-cylinder engine and a 4-cylinder transmission. That's not what I was about. And although, you know, everybody loves old Porsches, everybody loves the look of old Porsches, but until you buy an old Porsche, you don't understand this Porsche tax. Yeah, it's real. So fast forward, I've got this car here and I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do for an engine? Because I'm not throwing the 4-cylinder in there. You know, you could hot rod one out, whatever. I didn't want to do that. And this car's not even set up for a 4-cylinder, it's set up for a flat 6. So I go out and I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna be able to afford a 3.0 turbo engine, nothing like that, 3.2, no. So I start looking at the old 2.7 engines. Yeah, that's a big no too. So for an engine that needed rebuilt, I was looking at about 7,500 bucks for the engine. And then to have a shop professionally rebuild this engine, I was looking at another $15,000 to $20,000. I'm only 25 years old. I've got 2 kids and 1 on the way. And I actually just in the last year went off on my own as far as business goes. So I did not have the money to spend $20,000 on an engine. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, so I'll just break it to you. This car is getting a 450 horsepower LS1, and I'm actually marrying it to a 98 996 transaxle. So when people do these kinds of swaps, a lot of times they use the 930 transmissions just because, you know, they hold the power. Well, those transmissions, Porsche tax, are anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. I wasn't doing that. I picked up this 996 transmission for 800 bucks. And it's a 6-speed. So I'm very excited about that. All in all, I'm very excited with the car. You know, I've got the looks of the old, you know, classic 911 race car. It's hard to beat just the roar of an LS1 that's cammed with a good exhaust on it. Yes, I would love to have a flat 6 engine. I think those sound absolutely amazing, but unfortunately I cannot afford that at the moment. You know, maybe one day I'll keep this car the way it is, just as a reminder that I did this. But if I ever get another one, I'm definitely gonna have to go with a flat 6. All that being said, pretty cool. This car came with BBS E50 wheels. Unfortunately, they're 16s. I think 16s are looking okay. I actually just recently got this rear end sat down where it's gonna be close to, and I don't think they look too bad. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you think I should bump up to 17s, or if you think 16s look okay in this, you know, there'll be some footage, side shots and whatnot of these so you can get an idea. The other thing is they're not quite big enough for what I want. So being that it's getting an LS1, it's gonna have torque and power, and there's actually 2.5-inch wheel spacers behind these wheels. So my predicament I'm in right now is, do I buy new barrels for these and just go ahead and jump up to 17s, and then, you know, add, I mean, these are gonna be, well, about 2.5 inches deeper than what they are right now. So do I do that and get 17s, or do these look okay and I actually save myself money and just get deeper 16-inch outer barrels and call it a day? So pretty excited about that too, because, you know, you're looking at a 12 to 14-inch wide wheel on the back of this car, and the power plant is sitting right over top of these wheels. So it's gonna be like almost instantaneous power. I'm a little bit nervous regarding what I'm gonna do as far as axles go, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there because we got a long way to go yet. While ago I said ugly. Very ugly. From what I've been told, this car was a competition audio car. No idea where. I'm kind of hoping that once I start this YouTube series, I'll have some people chiming in if they see this car and chime in and say, you know, because on Facebook, I've had a few people say, oh, is that the car that had the competition audio? I've heard that several times. And I know from whenever I bought this, the guy had some documentation of previous owners, and it had some absolutely totally 90s and 80s, but absolutely horrendous fiberglass work in here. The back seats had a big fiberglass tub with subs in it. The middle console was this gaudy fiberglass thing, and that's where we get to the ugly. For some reason, so these Porsches are unibody, just like an old Volkswagen. So the dash is all sheet metal, it's built into the car. For whatever reason, this person cut the entire dash out of the car, which left me with just a giant hole up there. And I knew that when I bought the car, and it was one of the things that I was, at the time, I was just like, I want one of these cars so bad, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to make it work, which is all good and fine. I was a little bit nervous about how I was gonna get it to work, but I think I figured it out. So this car came with a parts car, and it also came with a spare front clip out of a totaled car. So I'll show you some footage, and I'll post some pictures of what it looked like before, but I ended up as cleanly as I could cutting the dash out of the other one, and I'm gonna weld it into this car. You know, there's a leather overlay that goes over this thing, not meaning that I'm just gonna bubble gum this thing in there and call it a day. I still wanna make it look as close to factory as possible. It's not gonna look factory, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be hidden by that leather overlay. So I'm not super worried about making it absolutely perfect. But yeah, that's really the only terrible thing about this car, is that the dash was cut out of it. So plans for the car. All right, so obviously LS1, the end goal is to be single 76mm turbo. Right now, the engine runs. I just want to get it in the car, hear the car run, drive it, you know, see what all I need to do. And then my goal is, if I'm at that point, next winter, we'll go with the turbo setup. But for now, LS1, 996 transmission. That is actually gonna be a whole episode in itself, getting this transmission sat in the car. Because if you know anything about these cars, they actually have torsion tube in the rear. So if you know anything about Porsches, you know what a torsion tube is. Well, the torsion bars have to be removed, and actually that tube has to be cut in the middle. I've got to cut about 8 inches out of the middle of it to get the nose of the transmission to fit up inside the car. Yeah, let's tear a Porsche apart and rebuild it with a lot of monstrosity. So as for the suspension goes, again, Porsche tax, everything on these is crazy expensive. You know, like a set of KW Coilovers for this car is like 8,500 bucks. Not doing that right now. Again, I'm just trying to get this car on the road. So what I did was, there's a company called Elephant Racing, and they build, valve, make what's called a coilover sleeve conversion kit. So what it does is it takes an old Bilstein shock, and you've got to machine a snap ring groove into it, slide this sleeve over, put it all together, and it makes a coilover. So that's what I've got to do for the rear, because I am removing the torsion bars. So, I mean, once you remove the torsion bars, the rear trailing arms can just go anywhere. So coilovers in the rear, ultimately coilovers in the front is what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna do another sleeve conversion kit for the front for now, or if I'm gonna go ahead and buy coilovers for the front. That's a discussion for another day. So that being said, coilovers all the way around is the end goal. Interior wise, I'm doing a full interior, but it'll be race car-ish. So I'm doing, you know, full carpet, full door cards, full dash, and the goal is to make all this stuff match. I don't know if I'm gonna do the upholstery myself or if I'm gonna order some stuff, but carpet, door cards, some Recaros or some sort of racing seats. I do want a comfort slash race. I don't want them so uncomfortable that like my wife doesn't want to ride in this thing. I want a happy medium between race car and comfort, if there is such a thing. So I've got some pretty trick parts coming for the interior. This 996 transmission means I can no longer use the classic 911 shifter, but I found a even more badass shifter by a company called Numeric Racing. This is a skeletonized shifter built for the 996 transmission. So I think it'll be pretty badass. There's gonna be, you know, complete carpet, complete interior, but right between the two seats, you're just gonna see this gnarly looking skeletonized shifter. You'll be able to see the cables and everything. You'll understand why I think it's going to be pretty sweet being exposed. So with an LS, water cooled, you're taking an air cooled car and turning it into water cooled. That means we have to put a radiator somewhere. So I am running a radiator with dual fans, and it's got to go in the front under the hood, the frunk is what they call it. So that is actually gonna be a whole nother video in itself as well. So that's kind of why I'm doing this series, is because I know things like the transmission, I've gotta make a video on that. Things like the whole front end, I've gotta make a video on that. And it's like, if I can help somebody else out that maybe has this idea to do to a Porsche, I'm going to. So my goal is to post, you know, I'm not an avid YouTuber yet anyways, you know, so bear with me here. It's not gonna be super consistent. I mean, it might be one video this month, and then next month I might do 2, and then the following I might not do any. It really just depends on where I'm at, because at this point, a lot that's fighting me is financial. So I've got almost everything I need to actually get the car running except for a wiring harness. So that's kind of why I'm starting right now, is because I'm thinking it'll be a while before I get to the point where I'm like, crap, I got to take a break until I can afford to buy this, you know. If you're as excited about this as I am, subscribe if you would, and hit that bell so you get notified whenever I make updates. But this is definitely going to be a build series. Yeah, welcome to it. This is my 1969 Porsche 911. We've got a full GT Racing wide body kit. We've got front fenders, rear fenders, side skirts, a carbon fiber rear deck lid, and a carbon fiber hood, and fiberglass bumpers. So she's pretty decked out. It's pretty gnarly. She's wide. I love everything about it. So I'm very excited to see where this thing goes, and I'm even more excited to see it on the road. So yeah, welcome to it.